So let me begin. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining our session today during this amazing Light Up virtual conference. My name is Luzaan Lottering, as Nishanta said. I am the marketing manager at Cardiolog Analytics, and I will go ahead and kick things off. Today, our session is on driving security enforcement across Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, and Office 365. I'm very excited to talk to you about this today and to show you our solution, Cardiolog Enforce, because here at Cardiolog Analytics, we are revolutionizing enforcement across Office 365, Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, and OneDrive by enforcing security policies and improving data safeguarding. And of course, if you have any questions, please send them through to the questions box or to info@intlock.com. And you can also connect with us on Twitter with the Twitter handle that you can see right there on your screen at Cardiolog. So thank you to everyone for being part of this event in support of UNICEF, and let's light it up and continue to donate $1 or any amount you wish to help support children in need globally. Thank you to all of the sponsors for this amazing event where we not only get to learn about Microsoft technologies, but also get together to raise funds for UNICEF, who continue to provide humanitarian and developmental aid to children worldwide. And then for any feedback, please use these QR codes that will take you to the speaker feedback and event feedback forms. To get back to our topic today, so in regards to the agenda for Cardiolog Analytics session today, we'll start out with a very short introduction. I will talk a bit about Cardiolog Analytics and who we are, and then I will be going over different enforcement types of violations. Then I will go over our enforcement tool and walk you through how you can use our smart risk assessment engine to effectively manage securing Office 365 in your organization. And then after that, I will discuss security challenges in Office 365 in detail and also how to enforce effectively, or how Cardiolog Enforce effectively secures Office 365. And then again at the end, there will be time for Q&A, so continue to send your questions throughout this presentation. So let's begin with a brief introduction. Cardiolog Analytics has been around for about 15 years now, since 2005 in fact. We are based out of Boston, and over the past 15 years, we've been focused on analytics and engagement designed for SharePoint, for Teams, and Office 365. Our flagship solution is Cardiolog Analytics, and it's built specifically for internal platforms, including all versions of SharePoint from 2010 up to 2019, as well as SharePoint Online, Microsoft Teams, OneDrive, and Exchange. We serve customers globally in about every industry, from finance to pharmaceutical, government, education, and many others. Our solution is available, or all our solutions are available both as an on-prem as well as a SaaS version based on Power BI. So a little bit about our goals. Our goal here at Cardiolog Analytics is to help our customers to constantly improve Office 365 based on how it's being used. So there are 4 pillars that we talk to our customers about. The first is Monitor, which is tracking the usage within SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, and Exchange. Second is engaging users, asking them what their needs are, asking them what their pain points are, and asking them what is not working for them. And then the next pillar is to enhance. So we want to make sure we are constantly improving SharePoint and Teams and so on based on those two pillars. The idea is to have actionable metrics, which will allow us to. Apologies, I was just interrupted by another session. Let me just quickly go back to where I was. Apologies for that. So the next pillar, as I said, is to enhance. So we want to make sure that we are constantly improving SharePoint and Teams and so on based on those two pillars. So the idea is to have actionable metrics, which will allow us to constantly make Office 365 platforms better for our users. And then finally, the last pillar is securing Office 365 by enforcing permissions and access, identifying breaches of information, and securing confidential data. And this last pillar, this is the one that we will be discussing in more detail today out by looking at different types of violations that exist in Office 365 and also how Cardiolog Enforce can help to secure and enforce. First thing is confidential data. So we text analyze data. So when links or content that's confidential or data that is sensitive is shared, it will notify those parties that need to be notified about it. How do we do that? We use AI and algorithms that analyze the risk of documents being shared, and risk assessment determines if anyone needs to be notified, such as in a case where documents usually get shared amongst managerial staff, and now suddenly this document is shared to someone lower on the hierarchy. So this will be identified as a risk, and Cardiolog Enforce will act accordingly. Next is private data. So when private data is being shared or when a contract is leaked, you will get reports informing you about everything that was compromised. And really importantly, those could be things compromised even prior to the leak. Next is corporate policy violations, such as inappropriate messages. And that will be labeled inappropriate according to the corporate policy of a particular organization. Next is access permissions, such as access to portals, for example, documents that certain users are maybe not permitted to access, for example, pages or sites or subsites that being shared with everyone, or if someone is able to or permitted to access, but they are not really supposed to access. In that case, Cardiolog Enforce can and will block them and also notify whomever needs to be notified. And then the last one here, data extraction. So for example, if someone is about to leave the company and then suddenly there's a lot of activity from them, things such as opening a lot of documents or any other what we will consider abnormal user behavior according to the AI, this will then get flagged and it will notify whomever needs to be notified. Also, I would just like to add that we do monitor APIs as well. So now I will show you around our demo environment to show you all how you can use Cardiolog Enforce to keep company regulations intact. There we go. So I will give you, first of all, an overview of the solution and then demo our Enforce GUI. So the first step will be deciding on and setting the enforcement goal. So that will be, what is your enforcement goal? What do you want to do? What does your enforcement goal have to do with? Does it have to do with access permissions, with data extraction, with confidential and private data, or corporate policies? Let me get into those a little bit more. If we look at access permissions, your goal might be to remove unauthorized users or an unauthorized user from a team. So that could be anyone maybe adding someone to a team, or perhaps someone with the same name as someone else who is in fact supposed to be in the team. So let's look at some of these other canned access permission enforcement goals right here. To remove unauthorized users from OneDrive documents, remove unauthorized users from SharePoint sites, flag security manager on unauthorized sharing user, block in unapproved user from unauthorized content, and detect access permission human errors. Very important. Next, we have data extraction. This could be remove a user permissions upon suspicious usage anomalies. That could even be flagging a security manager on suspicious user behavior, identifying and monitoring potential high-risk users, blocking endpoint output for users that violated companies' policies, and then also reporting on compromised data, very important. If we look at confidential and private data, I'm not going to go through all of them, but some examples of goals here could be to block private data on a team chat, remove confidential data from a team with unauthorized members, report on unauthorized data. And then the fourth possible umbrella for goals in terms of your enforcement could be corporate policies. So that would entail things such as to censor messages on public chat that violate corporate policies, to block a user that violates corporate policies on a Teams chat, flag private chat in violation with corporate policies, and so on. Step 2, first of all, you would then decide what your enforcement goal is, and if it's not one of these, you can go ahead and create one from scratch. So step 2 will be deciding which receiver role will be flagged, will be notified. Will it be my security manager, the person that's responsible for security in the company and who will take the actions? Is it the team owner? Is it the actor, or the actor is just a word for the user who performed the violation, so the guilty party? Is it a team member? Is it the manager of the actor, so the manager of the person who performed the violation? Or you can even go ahead and create your own segment. The next step, step 3, how will these people be notified? How will they get a message? How will they be flagged as to what happened in the Office 365 environment once you've selected who you want to get this notification, who you want to get flagged? So these are your different channels. Maybe they will get a text message, especially now that everyone is working remotely, a quick text message to notify them of the violation that occurred. Maybe a pop-up right within the SharePoint page notifying them of what has occurred. Email is also a great channel, or you can even send them a message, or this message could even be sent to them directly within social platforms such as right within Teams, that will show up as a message in Teams, or in Slack, or in Skype, or even Messenger. So it really depends which channel will be best for that particular job title or role that you have selected as the person who has to be notified. Your next step will be violation type, but I will go into that in a little bit more detail when I demo the GUI. And then finally, step 5, choose an Office 365 application that you want to enforce. You want to enforce Yammer, OneDrive, Teams, SharePoint, or even Stream. So let me now go back and show you a demo of a few scenarios to better grasp exactly how our solution works and how an organization will truly benefit from using it. As mentioned, we already have the information about your portal or your company or your customers portal and the usage of the portal. So in other words, how people behave in the environment, as well as the information being shared. So we can actually analyze and know what's going on in the portal before anyone gets the information. So keeping that in mind, we have created 2 scenarios that I wanted to show you today and explain more about. If we click on this first one, this first goal I would like to show in more detail is the goal of someone sharing information that is sensitive to the company. So we can actually identify when someone uploads information or adds that to the portal data that is not supposed to be exposed. We can actually monitor that information and using smart AI tools to define which data is actually confidential and basically block that before it can be accessed by anyone. So we define a violation of confidential data when someone shares confidential data or violates the confidential data rules. We can first of all block it, or in other words, prevent the violation from even happening. And then secondly, notify those people who need to be notified of this particular type of violation. So in this case, I'm showing what will be shown inside SharePoint. This is a SharePoint pop-up. So a pop-up on the manager's page that will notify him and also explain that some user made a violation within that team or which confidential data was shared. So in this case, the content was removed, first of all, and the user was notified. And as you can see, their security manager was also notified or flagged. If we go back to the channel, an organization can define, like I said, any channel they prefer to get notified in, whether it's a phone call, or a text message, or a message in Teams, or any other integrated platform, or an email, as I've mentioned, and even a really, really neat channel is, like I've said, an in-app message right within SharePoint, such as this one. And then if we hop over to this, eventually it will block the content and it won't be accessible by anyone. If I go back to the second scenario, which I would like to demonstrate, and that is unexpected access. So for example, in SharePoint or any other platform for sharing data, people have the liberty to share information that is already in the portal, right? And they can share that with other people that might not or should not have access to this information. So the goal here is to basically block the user that received the invitation or the permission access to access the data. So we can take away his permissions without this person ever accessing that data or that information. And all of a sudden, a new user has access to it, which he is not supposed to. So we can actually identify that and notify the people that this user now has the permissions. So we don't just notify, we actually block the user. So in this case, like I said, a user that is external to the salespeople, and he received something such as the cost management of the product, which is confidential. Um, so it's very important not just to block, not just to notify, but actually to block the user. So when he tries to access the page, he will get redirected to a designated landing page, which will actually show him that he was redirected to this landing page due to the fact that he did not have permission to access the page he initially tried to access. So if he wants, he can, however, ask for access, and then it is up to that particular security manager to allow that person or not to allow that person. So in this case, we send a text message and we can actually block the continuation of that violation. So as I mentioned, the product has a lot of predetermined goals and everything is dynamic. So using these canned enforcement goals you see here on this page, you can actually choose the goals you would like to enforce in your organization's portal in order to make sure that your data is safe. So let me get back to the presentation. So why is all of this so important though? I will tell you why. Cloud implementations have brought incredible leveraging of on-demand services to modern enterprise, but they've also introduced a host of new security issues, as you've seen when I was walking you through Cardiolog in Force. So threat mitigation and disclosure are two of the key priorities in today's data incident response plans that work. And actually, a new report by cloud consulting firm Delta Risk interviewed respondents with skin in the game in terms of cloud services, and they got a list of major worries that are often included in risk mitigation plans. So some of those main concerns for Office 365 managers include human access, so that would be various type of unauthorized access, cloud misconfiguration, so wrong credentials and sharing, data leakages, and that could be both private and confidential data that can be leaked. And then also APIs, the abuse of open keys and credentials. Cardiolog in Force secures Office 365 in the following ways for the following segments. So chat and media. Cardiolog in Force can secure chats and images and links and attachments and content via advanced enforcement algorithms. Hubs for users. So enforcing permissions and access, meaning all users and guests can be exposed to specific data and channels. Corporate policies, validating corporate policies, including texts, files, content sharing, and private information. And then security trust, to identify the breach of private and confidential information across multiple platforms. Enforce really does revolutionize Office 365 enforcement in terms of media. So if we look at media, that is including messages, so any written and or shared information, attachments, that could be content, files added to Office 365 from any other platform, even links and hyperlinks, any links sent or shared with users or guests. In terms of permission and access, Enforce helps to ensure access permissions for users and guests within a team or a channel. So enforcing and flagging unauthorized access and permission violations, and reporting on the severity of the violation and possible course of action. And then also, in terms of language, Enforce detects messages that are against corporate policies and reduce corporate liability. enforces and flags inappropriate text or language, and reports on the severity of the violation and possible course of action. Let's have a look at the different types of violations that could take place. So different media types would include file uploads, OneDrive sharing, images, chats and messages, and as I've mentioned, links as well as hyperlinks. And then the different environments that we can enforce with Cardiolog Enforce is Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, Yammer, and also Stream. I would now like to go over some frequently asked questions regarding our solution, Cardiolog Enforce. And then also at the end, I will have some time, luckily, because I see that I went through everything pretty quickly. I will have some time to also thoroughly go through all of the questions that you have sent me in the questions box. So some of our frequently asked questions are the following. Does Cardiolog Engage actually stop the violation from happening or only report on it? That is a question that comes up a lot. So my answer to that is, or our answer to that, if the system recognizes a violation in SharePoint, we redirect the end user to a designated landing page, which notifies him or her that he or she is not permitted to view the page, and then also contact the owner if he thinks he should. But that's in terms of SharePoint. What about Teams? In Teams, we remove the user or the content instantly. And then another question that we get ever so often, how do you identify content that is sensitive? So we do that because we do text analysis AI algorithms. Also, we allow the customers to add keywords. So in addition, we analyze the risk by permission deduction and learning algorithms. So those are two of the questions that we get really often. Let me have a quick look here to see if anyone sent through any questions in my questions box. I have no questions. Maybe now that I have finished with my presentation and also the demo, maybe the questions will come through now, so I will give it a minute if anyone has anything that they would like to ask. If nothing is coming through, then I will wrap up Cardiolog Analytics session today. And just as a reminder, we invite you to visit us at intlock.com to book your free demo of Cardiolog Analytics, also Cardiolog Engage and Gamify. Those are three other solutions. And you can also tweet us at Cardiolog. And for more information and any other helpful tips, please do check out our amazing blog at blog.intlock.com. And for more information, please feel free to contact us at info@intlock.com. Let me have a quick look at the questions. Nothing yet. So then I will go ahead and say a huge thanks to everyone who joined or attended our session today. Enjoy the rest of all the sessions and remember to donate to UNICEF. So yeah, goodbye to everyone.
Thanks, Luzaan. That was an amazing session. So looks like we don't have any other questions. So that was so good. Thanks for getting this point across. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. And donate, everyone.
Sure. Thanks, Luzaan.
Thank you.